Hey folks, I hope that you guys are doing pretty well. So today is Thursday, the 7th of November 2024. And in today's video, I'm going to decipher for you Isaiah chapter 55, okay? I'm going to go verse by verse because this is essentially a millennial kingdom chapter, okay? It's all for the millennial. And and here we are, Isaiah is giving prophecies and promises to the Jewish people. Now, a few days ago, I deciphered also Isaiah chapter 54, which are also promises and prophecies for the millennial kingdom. Okay, and chapter 55 adds more promises, to the Jewish people, if you like. Okay, as always, I do have a program here. Today is Thursday, the 7th of November 2024. Isaiah chapter 55 is essentially a millennial kingdom chapter, just like chapter 54. Okay, and I do have a program in which I'm going to go verse by verse. Okay, I got 4 pages all up, but it's actually very important that I go verse by verse because we are seeing new promises here to the Jewish people, and some of these promises are actually very exciting. Um, and also, we got to consider what's happening in here with these prophecies. We have to consider what's happening, and we have to think about them as well. So, this is why Isaiah chapter 55 is actually very important with all these promises. We have to consider, folks, what is happening in here with these prophecies, and we have to think about them as well. Okay? Now, let us begin with verse 1. Okay? Ho, everyone that thirstieth, come you to the waters. Now, a circle waters because it's actually symbolizing in a symbolic way Jesus, and I'll show you in a moment with some scriptures in the book of John in chapter 4. Okay, so how everyone that thirsts, come you to the waters or come to Jesus, and he that has no money, come you and buy and eat. Yeah, come and buy wine and milk without money and without a price. Okay, so verse 1 is actually laying the foundation that all these prophecies here are for the millennial kingdom. We're going to go verse by verse. Okay, it's only a short chapter, 13 verses, but it's full of promises and things to think about. Okay, so verse 1 here, that's the foundation that this can only happen during the millennial kingdom when Jesus is ruling as King of Israel. Okay, he's saying to the Jewish people, hey, if you are thirsty, if you want to live forever, come to me and the living waters. Okay, in the program, of course, I got here, hey, verse 1, how everyone that thirstieth, come you to Jesus. He is the living waters, of course. Come to Jesus for the living water. If you see John 4:10 and John 4:14, okay, so I do have a patch marker. Stay with me, folks, because this is actually a very important chapter. Okay, so head over to the book of John, okay, and go to chapter 4 and head over to verse 10, okay, and verse 10. This is actually to do with the example of the Samaritan woman in Jacob's well, okay. So we all know as Bible scholars, about the woman coming to Jacob's well to fetch water, and Jesus was there. Okay, so you can read the account here. But look what it says here: Jesus to the Samaritan woman on verse 10 in John chapter 4, and he says to her, "Give me to drink." Thou wouldst have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. Okay, so Jesus is the living water. Okay, so basically, Jesus is saying to the Samaritan woman, if you believe on me, you know, uh, you will have living water in you, or everlasting water, if you like. Okay, in other words, that she's going to be living forever. Okay, um, and then on verse 14, okay, but whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing into everlasting water. So whoever comes to Jesus, okay, they are not going to perish. They are not going to thirst. Okay, don't forget that the people in hell, they do suffer from thirst. Okay, but Jesus If you believe on him, he's going to be a well of water springing up into everlasting life. In other words, if you believe in the gospel of Jesus, you're going to have everlasting life. Okay, so quickly let me go to Isaiah chapter 55, the correct page here. Okay, so let me go back into the program here. Okay, so basically I just show you how in John 14 and in John 4:14, where it says here in verse 1, how everyone that thirsteth come you to the waters is referring to Jesus. Okay, come and get everlasting life, from Jesus. Okay, so I just show you the verses there. So verse 1 is laying the foundation for the millennial kingdom. The Jewish people come to your salvation, whom is Jesus. Okay, we also know that in Romans 11:26, all Israel shall be saved. But this prophecy here in Romans 11:26 is only for the millennial kingdom. Okay, because don't forget that in Daniel chapter 12, only those that are written in the book of life will make it through, okay, into the millennial kingdom. And Zechariah tells us in chapter 13, verse 8, that only one third will make it through into the millennial kingdom. But those that make it through, then, according to Romans 11:26, then all of them are going to be saved. Okay, it's going to be a little bit different for the nations that make it through into the millennial kingdom regarding the prophecies in Joel chapter 2, Joel chapter 3, verse 2, the judgment that Jesus is going to do in the valley of Jehoshaphat, and also according to Matthew chapter 25, okay, where it says, I'll show you in a moment, where it says that, the judgment of the sheep and the goats, if you like, okay. So salvation in the millennial kingdom, all the Jewish people are going to be saved, but we know that according to Revelation 20, that, that at the end of the millennial kingdom, um, the dragon or the devil is going to be let loose for a season, and they're going to come to the camp of the saints in Jerusalem, and then God is going to rain fire from heaven and wipe them out. Okay, but we'll talk about that more in a moment. Okay, let's not get too carried away, far too forward. Okay, so yeah, basically, if you have no money, come and buy and eat. Come and buy wine and milk with your money or price. So this can only happen during the millennial kingdom. Okay. So these are some of the things that we need to think about. That, like I said, in Romans 11:26, that all Israel will be saved during the millennial kingdom, and Jesus is saying, "Hey, come to my waters, come to me, so that you can have everlasting life." Especially if you read John 4:10 and 4:14. Okay, and this verse 1 here is laying the foundation for the millennial kingdom. Like I said, there's a lot to be said, a lot of prophecies to consider here in verse 1. Okay, now let us go then to verse 2. Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread? So basically what he's saying here, why are you spending money for that which is not bread? Meaning, why are you wasting money on things that are not good for you? The bread here, just like water, is actually symbolic of Jesus. Remember when Jesus said, I am the bread of life? Okay, so again, bread and water are both symbolic of Jesus, and I'll show you in a moment in scriptures in John 6:35, John 6:50 and 51, and John 6:58. Okay, so essentially, why do you spend your money on that which is not bread? In other words, why are you spending money on things that are not holy? Or why aren't you spending money on me, Jesus? Because bread and water is symbolic of Jesus, okay? And your labor for that which doesn't satisfy you, okay? So you're spending money on things that don't satisfy you. Instead, you should be spending money on me, because it says here, hearken diligently unto me. In other words, spend your money on me, on the bread of life, which is Jesus, and eat you that which is good. Okay, eat my bread. Jesus is saying, come to me diligently, and let your soul delight itself in fatness, or in Him, or in Jesus, if you like. Okay. So now I'm gonna show you the scriptures. On verse 2. Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread? Bread is again is symbolic of Jesus. Jesus said, I am the bread of life. Okay, in John 6:35. Okay, so let us go quickly there, folks. I do have a patch marker. So if you head over to the book of John, okay, chapter 6, and go to verse 35. And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. So you see how it's symbolic where it says bread. Okay, in verse 2. Um, Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread? It's actually symbolic of Jesus. So Jesus is saying, hey, hearken unto me, listen to me on verse 2, I am the bread of life. Okay. Let us look at other scriptures in John 6:50 and 51, and then in 58. Okay. So John 6:50. Okay, this is the bread, okay, which came down from heaven, that a man might eat thereof and not die. See, if you eat the bread of life, if you believe on Jesus, if you listen to Him and hearken unto Him, you are not going to die. In other words, believe on Him. Okay. Verse 51. I am the living bread, which came down from heaven. Okay, and so on. And then on verse 58, it says here, this is the bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna, and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever. Okay, so again, if you go back to Isaiah here, on verse 2, okay, Jesus is saying, hey, what do you spend money, waste your money on that which is, not good for you, or that you're actually not spending your time with me. I am the bread of life. It's symbolic of Jesus, and your life are for that which satisfies not. Hearken diligent unto me. In other words, come to me. I will give you the bread of life, if you like. Um, Eat you that which is good. In other words, Jesus saying, hey, eat me. I am the bread of life. Come to me, and let your soul delight itself in fatness, or in Him, or in Jesus. And I just show you the scriptures here. If you read John 6:35, 6:50 and 51 and 58, okay, Jesus is the bread of life, time and time again. Okay. Now let me turn over to the second page of the program here, and let's get into verse 3. Incline your ear and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. Okay, so Jesus is saying to the Jewish people, you know, incline your ear unto me, come unto me, and you will live, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. Okay, so on verse 3, then um, there are prophecies in the book of Jeremiah which talk about the new covenant that Jesus will establish with the Jewish people. Okay, so it says here, incline your ear and come unto me. In other words, worship Jesus so that you might live. Okay, and I will make an everlasting covenant with you. See Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31, and also verse 33. These are promises for the Jewish people for the millennial kingdom. Uh, Jesus is going to make a new covenant, an everlasting covenant with the Jewish people. Okay, so let us have a look at these prophecies here in Jeremiah chapter 31. Okay, so I do have a page marker here. So if you head over to the book of Jeremiah, then you go to verse 31. Behold, the days come, said the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. And so this can only happen during the millennial kingdom. Okay. And then it reads on verse 32, not according to the covenant that I have made with their fathers in that day that I took them by the hand and by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. But on verse 33 it says, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days. Okay? In other words, those days plural, meaning after the church age and also after the tribulation period. So this is going to happen in the millennial kingdom. Okay? Said the Lord. And I will put my law in the inward parts and write it in the hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Okay, so this is a promise for the millennial kingdom. Okay, to the Jewish people for the millennial kingdom. Okay, now verse 4, and it says, behold, I have given him David, because he was talking about here on verse 3, even the sure mercies of David. Okay, so on verse 4 it reads, behold, I have given him David for a witness to the people, a leader and a commander to the people. Now I'll show you some prophecies regarding him, where God is saying here through Isaiah, behold, I have given David for a witness to the people, a leader and a commander to the people. So for verse 4, okay, where it says, behold, I have given David for a witness to the people and a leader and a commander to the people. Read Psalm 22, where David is actually prophesying about Jesus, how he's going to die at the cross. Okay, so he's saying here, behold, I have given David to be a witness to my people and a leader and a commander. Well, on Psalm 22, then David is being a witness of Jesus, that he's going to die in the cross. Okay, read it for yourselves. And also, there are many other Psalms as well. So read the book of Psalms. I got to suffer many prophecies in the book of Psalms. Also, if you read Second Chronicles chapter 6, how it reads that David is my father. Jesus is saying, hey, David is my father. In Second Chronicles chapter 6, there are many prophecies there. And also, if you read Matthew chapter 1, it talks about the genealogy of Jesus. Okay? So this is why, where it says here on verse 4, behold, I have given David for a witness, okay, and a leader and a commander to the people. Then Psalm 22, just to recap, David talks about, because it's actually a psalm of David, talks about how Jesus went to the cross. And so Jesus is using David as a witness to the people, okay? And there are many psalms that talk about this. Also read Second Chronicles chapter 6 and Matthew chapter 1 to see the genealogy of Jesus. Okay? So now we're going to go to verse 5. So verse 5, behold, thou shalt call a nation that you knowest not, and nations that knew not thee shall run unto thee because of the Lord thy God, and for the Holy One of Israel, for he has glorified thee. So this is actually quite interesting because, of course, in the millennial kingdom, God is going to glorify the nation of Israel, but there will be nations that might get through into the millennial kingdom. Those nations that, after Jesus does that judgment of the ships and the goats, according to Matthew 25, verses 32 and 33. So, best to read from my program here, where I have written my notes down. Okay, so verse 5, behold, you shall call a nation you do not know, and a nation that did not know you shall run to you. It's interesting because what nations are going into the millennial kingdom is yet to be known. We don't know yet. We have to wait until Jesus does that judgment in the valley of Jehoshaphat, according to Joel chapter 3, verse 2, and also Matthew chapter 25, verses 32 and 33. So regarding verse 5, okay, which nations might get through into the millennial kingdom, we don't know yet. Jesus is going to make that judgment, so that's impending and in front. So this is something, verse 5 is something important to consider, which nations might get through. So this is actually quite interesting, okay? And then it says at the end there, because of the Lord your God, and of the Holy One of Israel, for he has glorified you. Okay, so the only time when God can glorify um, the Jewish people, you know, with the nations that might get through, okay, it's only going to be during the millennial kingdom. So yeah, it's quite interesting, folks. We are yet to know which nations might get through into the millennial kingdom, according to these prophecies here in Joel and in Matthew. So very interesting, folks. Now, let's turn. Let me turn over the page in the program here, and we get into verse 6. Okay. Seek you the Lord while he might be found. Call you upon him while he is near. Well, this is very simple. Seek you the Lord while he might be found. Well, he's only going to be found during the millennial kingdom when he's near. So it's saying here quite clearly, hey, seek you the Lord while he might be found. Call you upon him while he is near. So again, in the program here, seek the Lord while he might be found when he's near. Okay, when can this happen? In the millennial kingdom. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Now, verse 7. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, for he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. Now, this is actually quite an interesting verse here. It's actually quite a fair bit to unpack. Okay. So yeah, let the wicked forsake his way and his thoughts, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Now, in my program here, I put that all Jews shall be saved in the millennial kingdom, according to Romans 11:26. Okay, although Jesus will rule the nations and also Israel with a rod of iron, like it reads in Revelation 2:27 and also 19:15. So both Jews and Gentiles will have to behave and act in holy ways, if you like. Okay, that's why it's saying here, let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Okay, and let him return unto the Lord. So, like I said on my notes here, Jesus came to rule with a rod of iron, and all Jews will be saved, but nonetheless, both Jews and Gentiles will have to behave in holy ways as Jesus is ruling with a rod of iron. Now, one of the interesting things regarding the verse to take into consideration is that according to Revelation 20, like I said earlier, in verses 7 to 9, we read that the nations are going to be deceived by the dragon, okay? And these nations are going to come against Jerusalem. It doesn't say all nations, it just says nations. So perhaps some nations will be saved. I don't know, but all I know is it doesn't say all nations. It says nations. So I'll show you that in a moment. Okay. And then God, of course, rain fire from heaven and wipe them out. Okay. So this is going to happen at the end of the millennial kingdom. Okay. So let me show you quickly just Revelation 20 here. I don't have a patch marker, folks, but we can find it quite easily. Right here in Revelation 20. Okay, so head over to Revelation 20, verses 7 to 9. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, okay? And he shall go out to deceive the nations. Now, it doesn't say all nations, it says the nations. So perhaps there will be nations that will make it through into eternity, okay? It's interesting. I can't say 100% for certain, but it says here, the nations, deceive the nations. It doesn't say deceive all the nations, but the nations. So that in itself is actually interesting, this prophecy, okay? Which are in the four quarters of the earth. So it's saying the nations all over the world, okay? For the Gog and Magog to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as a sand of the sea. Okay. And in verse 10 here it says, "And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night." Okay. So that's the end of it. And of course, we know that, they're coming for the camp of the saints in the beloved city, which is Jerusalem, and fire come down from God and from fire come down from God out of heaven and devour them. So yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, there's a lot to unpack here and to consider in verse 7, where it says, "Let the wicked forsake his way and the unrighteous make his thoughts," because this is going to happen all in the millennial kingdom. This Revelation 20 is going to happen in the millennial kingdom when Jesus is there. So, and like I just said, the dragon is going to deceive the nations. It doesn't say all nations, but it says the nations. So that in itself is interesting. So, yeah, I guess we have to consider all these things. Nonetheless, according to Romans 11:26, all the Jewish people that might have through into the millennial kingdom will be saved, but both Jews and Gentiles will have to behave and act in a holy way, because Jesus is going to be ruling with a rod of iron, according to Revelation 2:27 and 19:15. Okay, so let us move then to verse 8. Uh, Rather, let me just get back here to Isaiah 55. I've got a punch marker here, folks. Bear with me. Uh, so, verse 8, Jesus is saying here through Isaiah, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, say the Lord." Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Of course, God is above all of us, so his thoughts are higher. Okay, verse 9, "For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than yours." Okay, so of course, God's ways are much higher. So that's pretty straightforward. Verse 8 and 9 are pretty straightforward. Verse 10, "For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh bring forth and bud, that it might bring seed to the sower and bread to the eater." So that's pretty straightforward. Okay. Then verse 11, "So shall my word uh, be that goes forth out of my mouth; it shall not return unto me void." Okay, so it's in a figure of speech, if you like. When rain comes down from heaven, it waters the earth, and then the seed produces you know uh, produce, if you like, that we can all eat and so on. Then in the same figure of speech, if you like, or comparable to verse 11, when the word of God goes forth out of his mouth, it shall not return to me void, meaning that whatever God says, whatever words Jesus commands, is not going to return to him void, but whatever he commands will accomplish something. In other words, it's going to accomplish what pleases Jesus, and it shall prosper in the thing where I sent it. Okay, so verse 11, "My word shall not return unto me void." Paraphrasing here, whatever Jesus commands with his own words will come to pass. Okay, so that's very straightforward. Okay, so let me turn the page here to the last two verses then, verse 12 and 13. "For you shall go out with joy." This is talking about the Jewish people. "For you, Israel, the Jewish people, shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace." So Jesus is going to lead the Jewish people with peace, and the Jewish people are going to be joyful. Okay, "The mountains and the hills shall break forth before you in singing." So it's kind of like a figure of speech. "And all the trees of the field shall clap their hands." So basically, what it's saying that, hey, the Jewish people, you Israel, you're gonna have a lot of joy, and I'm going to lead you with peace. You are going to have peace throughout the land. Okay, so this is a promise for the Jewish people. Verse 12. For you shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace by Jesus. A promise to the Jewish people that they're going to have joy and be led, by Jesus with peace. Okay. And the last verse, instead of the thorn shall come up the fir tree, and instead of the briar shall come up the myrtle tree, and it shall be to the Lord for a name, for an everlasting sign that shall not be cut off. So in other words, what he's saying here in a figure of speech is that Jesus himself is going to restore the land of Israel, okay? And this is going to be an everlasting sign, in that Jesus is always going to be there with the Jewish people, okay? And the Jewish people are not going to be cut off anymore, okay? So, with this verse 13, then Jesus is going to restore the land of Israel, and it's a sign that the Lord is here to stay with the Jewish people, okay? Alright, folks, thanks for watching. This is chapter 55. It's important because it does have a lot of promises, but there are other prophecies that you also have to consider, like I explained on this video. Alright, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.